All right, well, let's go ahead and start. And so first, I'd like to ask if anybody has questions they want to ask, because this is for you all mostly.
Not right now.
And so if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat or um, you can unmute yourself and just talk. There's not very many of us. Um, so let me share my screen. All right, so we're going to do introductions real quick. There's not that many of us, so it won't take that long. So just answer these questions, just like we did in the discussion board. So I'm Andrew Corliss. I'm from Sacramento, California. I went to a junior college there. Then I went to BYU. Got my BYU shirt today. I'm excited for their football season. Then I went to University of Connecticut for my master's degree, and I'm here to help you learn. Hopefully, not going anywhere. Um, I'm a Cub Scout leader. This weekend we did a big recruiting event for Cub Scouts. So I have a 8-year-old son he's in Cub Scouts, and then I have an 11-year-old son who just started Boy Scouts this year, so I'm helping with that also. My daughter is 19 and she's going off to college in 2 weeks. She's going to go to BYU, Idaho. And then my oldest son is 21 and he is currently serving as a missionary for our church in Arizona. He'll be coming home in January. He's been there for about 18 months. So I love sports and camping and hiking and being outside. And that's enough about me. So I'll just go down the list how you are on my screen. So Lorraine, could you go next?
Okay, I'm Lorraine. I'm from Jamaica, as I said, but I've been here in the States for over 30 years. I live in California and I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for about over 30 years. And I am looking to kind of scale back on patient care and do more administration. So I'm here on the doing the BA for health administration. And I did my associates here at Vincent's. So I'm just continuing on here. And yeah, that's where I'm going. Anything else? Yeah, I love sports also, but I'm an avid reader, so I like to read and watch movies. And I like hiking. And my favorite football team is the 49ers. So go Niners. And my basketball team is Warriors. And San Francisco Giants are my favorite baseball team. We're not doing so good this season. I'm in New York right now visiting family because of something that happened to a family member. So I'm actually able to do this Zoom. If I was in California, I would be seeing patients, so I probably wouldn't be able to do this. So that's one good thing that came from coming here. So I guess that's about it.
You live in Oceanside, or is that right?
Yeah, Oceanside, California. Yes, it's close to the Navy base, the Marine base, Camp Pendleton.
All right. Thank you, Lorraine. All right, Rebecca, you're next.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm from Terre Haute, Indiana. Why am I here? A couple of years ago, so I actually already have a degree from Ivy Tech in business. Um, but a couple of years ago, my husband deployed to Germany for 6 months. At the time, our son was 4, and I could not do my marketing and sales job working 50, 60 hours a week while taking care of our son and the house and the dog and all that. So I actually quit my job and started working for my father-in-law at his funeral home and fell in love with the profession. And so now I am going back to school to get my degree in mortuary science so that I can become a funeral director and take over the business. So that's hopefully where I'm going. That's my plan. A little bit about me. I'm also a big sports buff. I love football. So I'm a big New England Patriots fan in Indiana, which is unheard of. And then I also love the Kansas City Chiefs because Mahomes. Um, let's see. I'm a big Harry Potter lover. I have two dogs. My son is now 6 years old and he's a big soccer player. And so I'm always going to the soccer fields. It's where I'll be this evening. Yeah, so I'm a mom, dog mom. I love to work out and fitness and go being outside. And yeah, Harry Potter is a big part of my life. My two dogs are named after Harry Potter characters. So that's that's all about me.
Okay, thank you. Gabriel, you're next.
Hello, I'm Gabrielle. I'm from Shelburne. I'm here for the funeral services and mortuary science. There's a few funeral homes around here that I'd really love to go to when it's on that step, and I'd like to, but we'll have to see where it goes. And I don't really have anything else to share.
Okay, thank you. Elliot, you're next.
Hi, I'm Ellie, and I am from Northwest Indiana. Also, sorry if you hear my animals and they're in the back. I have a couple, and they're kind of fighting right now, so I have a cat fighting. Um, I'm from Northwest Indiana, and then I had moved to Fort Wayne region for to get my bachelor's degree in theater and media production, and then I moved out of the town a little farther into a smaller town, and now I'm attending VU for funeral services. And hopefully, I'll be a funeral director one day. That's kind of my hopes. I had a bit of a career change from theater to funeral services, but I'm pretty excited about it. Been interested for a while. Not as much of a sports buff as some of you guys, but I do like boxing, and I'm a big Katie Taylor fan. But in my spare time, I like to read and watch films. I'm a big horror nut. Like, I love horror films and literature and things like that. So I'm pretty artsy. I do music. Yeah, I kind of dabble in a lot of things. So, but that's all about me. So,
All right. Bill, can you go next?
Sure. My name is Bill Altman. I live in Evansville, Indiana. Grew up mostly near Bloomington, a small town near Bloomington here in Indiana. I'm here for funeral services as well, and currently working at a funeral home. And I'm fortunately, it's a little bit of a slower day, so I'm able to hop on here. But have spent since I guess '91 mostly doing church work. And about 4 years ago, started working part-time at a funeral home and just fell in love with it. Someone else mentioned the same thing, maybe you, Rebecca. And so I am pursuing becoming a licensed funeral director. I will be 60 when that happens. I'm 57 now. So we've got three children, 26, 28, and 30. So I'm very late in the game, but really happy to be here. And I also do a lot of reading, hiking, backpacking, cycling, walking, lots of outdoorsy stuff.
And you live right by Wesselman Woods, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like just about a mile or so from here. And I'm fortunate I'm currently working at a funeral home, as I mentioned, and hopefully will be working here after I finish. They're helping to pay for my schooling, so hopefully they'll let me stick around.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Ava, can you go next?
Um, I'm Ava. I am from Louisiana, but I live in Evansville, Indiana. Um, I work in a funeral home as a receptionist right now. I'm here to get my funeral director's license. I just graduated high school in May of this year. Um, I don't really have a lot of hobbies or anything, so that's it.
All right, thank you.
Ava, what funeral home do you work for, if I could ask?
I work at Zemer.
Okay, cool. I'm at Alexander.
Okay, so I think I graded most of the stuff from week one, so it seems like everybody figured out how to turn in their assignments, so that's good. And it's gonna stay pretty much the same every week. Let me get out of this and go to the Blackboard site. Um, so this is the lecture class. So you go to course content, and so like this week you should be basically doing the week 2 folder. And submit it just like you did last week. And then for the lab course, again, you're gonna go to the lab 2 folder this week, which is all about anatomical terminology, which might be the most useful thing you learn in this class. And so with the lab, it's a little bit difficult because like your assignment, to find your assignments, you're going to have to go to click on start here and go to the visible body site. So that's where your assignments are going to be. So like here's lab 2. Let me make this what it looks like. Okay, so I go here. This one is so this one, I go through it, open the visible body. So the visible body, you can do that either on the computer or on your phone or tablet. There's an app. You guys can get the app free through the site, and then you keep it forever. So that's a bonus. But you're just gonna go through all this and fill all this in. You should be able to do it after doing the activities on visible body. And then also if you need help, there is the answers are all pretty much in chapter 1 of your textbook. And if you need help with something, just let me know. I will help you. So you're going to find out on here, and then the quizzes you're going to take here on the visible body site. But things like, so this, you just go through that. Like this guided notes, you're going to download that. And then you're going to fill it. That's what we just did. So you'll fill it in, and again, you can do it on the computer or you can print it out and fill it in with a pen, whatever you prefer. And then you're going to go to Blackboard and on Lab 2. So this is the place where you'd submit that. And so there's stuff for submitting the different things on Blackboard. So there supposedly visible body is going to be integrating with Blackboard, but it's not working yet. So we have to do it this. It's a little clumsy, but it is what it is. So questions about any of that?
No.
All right, then I wanted to focus today on, let's go back to the other site. You will see under course content, folder called Critical and Ethical Thinking. And so there are several assignments in here that we call scaffolding assignments to get you to think about critical and ethical thinking. So with critical thinking, basically, let's start with the definition. It is, in order to have critical thinking, you have to have a problem where there's not necessarily a correct answer. Okay, so like 2 + 2 is 4. That does not require critical thinking. Or let's see, what do you call the term that means towards the top? So that would be superior. That's just recall. That doesn't require critical thinking. For critical thinking, you have to have something like, so a good one is abortion. Like, is abortion ethical? Is that, should it be legal? There's not a right answer there, and I don't think our society will ever have a right answer. People have their different opinions about that, and that's okay. So one of the points of doing this assignment is to get you to be able to see other people's viewpoints. So raise your hand if you have a family member that thinks they know everything and you cannot change their mind about anything no matter what. Is everybody raising their hand? I have a couple. So we don't want you to be that person. You know, it's okay to have different viewpoints than someone and still be friends. So I work at a university, and it seems like most of the people that work here are Democrats. And I'm a Republican, but we're still friends. We have different views on some things, but we can still be friends. And so hopefully you can be that way. With this, the assignment that we're going to do, the first one that's due, which is due this week, is just this: what type of question am I? And that's just to help you figure out what an ethical question is. And so there's different types of questions on there, and this video would explain that. And then the next assignment is going to be the pandemic flu exercise, which is going to give you a chance to, and by the way, I started using this way back before COVID happened. And then when we were doing this during COVID, it was really weird. But the first thing I want to introduce you is these 8 key questions. And so we're going to use these to help us understand, how we feel about something. So sometimes it's hard to figure out what your position is on an ethical question. And so for this assignment, what you're going to do is, the question we're going to address is, should we use CRISPR? So raise your hand if you know what CRISPR is. Anybody want to share what they know?
I think I understand what it is. I think it's the new technology that they're using to try to it's more, what can I say, to make another human, or similar, something they use to make another human. I think I read something about that. I'm not sure if that's the exact term for it, or
So that may be a possibility, but CRISPR basically allows you to edit DNA.
edit DNA. Okay.
So making a whole nother person, that's
Yeah.
cloning. That's we can do that with animals. We have not been able to do that with humans. With CRISPR, maybe it's possible, I don't know. But with CRISPR, it makes it easy. So humans have been trying to change DNA for a long time. So I know a guy, and he worked for a seed company, Monsanto. And what they would do, his job was basically to take seeds, expose them to radiation, knowing that that would cause changes to the DNA. And then he'd grow all these different seeds, and hoping that with these just random changes they were making, that they'd get a good characteristic to the corn, like make it bigger or sweeter or something. So that was kind of like shooting in the dark, just hoping for random mutations. With CRISPR, we can sequence the DNA in any crop that's worth any amount of money. Its DNA has been sequenced now. And we can go in and make changes directly where we want to. So it's much more efficient than the old way. That doesn't mean it works perfectly, and that doesn't mean everybody agrees that we should do it. Although, I remember, when was I in college? Probably 20 years ago when I was in college, I remember taking an anthropology class, and our teacher was worried about we were approaching Y2K then. Anybody remember that? We were panicked about Y2K. Well, I wasn't. Some people were. But he was also panicked about Y6D, which was when we're going to have 6 billion people on the planet. And he was worried that we weren't going to be able to feed them all. So now we're over 7 billion. And I know there's people out there starving, probably, but that's more not being able to access food. Like I know there's people in war zones and that's terrible, and I agree for them, but it's life. Life's not fair. But now with CRISPR technology, we've been able to greatly increase the amount of food we grow, food we produce. But then there are some downsides. Maybe that food's not as healthy for us. Um, One of the big changes is they've made like corn and soybeans. So where I live, there's a lot of farms. There's a lot of corn and soybeans. And so they have what's called Roundup Ready corn or soybeans, which means they put into their seeds a gene that makes them resistant to Roundup. So that means they can just spray Roundup everywhere and it will kill the weeds, but not the stuff they want to grow. Now, does that make them use too much Roundup? Probably, and that's not good for our environment. So it's not all good. One cool thing they've been able to do with it is tomatoes. So a lot of farmers lose money when tomatoes freeze. So what they've done is there's a fish that lives in Arctic waters, and they found a protein. They want to know how they can do that, how they live in these freezing waters. And they found a protein in their blood that works like antifreeze, like we put in our cars or whatever. And so they're able to take that gene out and put it into tomatoes, and now those tomatoes are resistant to freezing. So that gives us better tomatoes. So I think that's a real cool application of CRISPR. Another cool application of CRISPR is sickle cell anemia. Well, that's a disease. And with sickle cell anemia, you have just one amino acid in the protein that makes the hemoglobin in your blood cells is mutated, and it makes the hemoglobin not fold right and not work right, and that can be a very painful disease. With CRISPR, they're able to basically they take your cells out, your bone marrow cells that are making new blood cells for you, take those out, inject CRISPR into them. And one of the problems with CRISPR is to get DNA into a cell, it's kind of hard to do that. It's easy if you have a single cell thing like a bacteria, but to get it in your whole body is difficult. So one reason it works for sickle cell is we can take out some bone marrow cells, change them like in a dish, and the way they deliver CRISPR is with a virus usually, and then they make that virus so it will just deliver the CRISPR and hopefully not cause any other problems. And then they're able to, you're careful with saying cure, but basically we have a cure for sickle cell anemia. And it's worked for a lot of people. They've also been able to cure some forms of blindness with CRISPR. So there's definitely some cool things on the horizon about CRISPR. And if you've never heard of CRISPR, just Google it. So CRISPR is an acronym, which stands for this clustered regular interspaced short palindromic repeats. But if you look at the news for CRISPR, so it's going to help these natural killer cells fight cancer. I do not know what that is. So they're going to use it for gene editing experiments. Oh, I haven't seen this. They can use it to cure Down syndrome. Now, some people would say we shouldn't cure Down syndrome. I don't remember what country it is, but they basically do genetic testing of babies, and they've basically eliminated Down syndrome in their country. And I don't agree with that, but I can see kind of why people would think that, because those people with Down syndromes generally have a lot of health problems. People might think they're not going to live as full of a life as others. So you can see there's a lot of question marks with this. So I don't want to tell you everything about CRISPR today. My my favorite thing, my favorite use for CRISPR is getting rid of mosquitoes. How many are okay with eliminating mosquitoes? Now, some people say we shouldn't because that's gonna, oh, is it Iceland where there's no more Down syndrome? Okay. Yeah, it was in Japan where they're getting rid of that chromosome. So, um, I was in Iceland last summer and I did not notice anybody with Down syndrome. It's a beautiful country though. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, mosquitoes. So scientists have a plan to use mosquitoes to use CRISPR to eliminate mosquitoes. And some people say, oh, we need them because, fish eat the babies and mosquitoes are pollinators. And I think if we eliminate mosquitoes, the fish will find something else to eat. And there's other flying insects that can be pollinators. I think we'll be okay if we eliminate mosquitoes. So they're trying this in some areas. So they use CRISPR to modify the mosquitoes. And then when they release these into the wild, they're going to go and not be able to reproduce. And so the hope is that we could eliminate mosquitoes. And they're testing it in places and it seems to be working. So if they ever want to do it in my state or anywhere around me, I will sign up to help. So let me go back to, we'll get to the AT questions in a second. So in this critical thinking folder, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. I really want to talk about these ethics worksheets today. But before I do that, here's an article on CRISPR that was um, in the American Biology Teacher, which I know is a magazine you probably all don't get. How many people do? But it talks about CRISPR and several applications. And it also has a really good, so it's talking about gene drives, how we're going to use it to get rid of mosquitoes. But it has a lot of references. So if you want to learn more about a specific area, it has a lot of good references. So there's that. I also like this TED Talk about CRISPR right here. It's pretty short and pretty simple. So that will be a good introduction as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
For the worksheet, who am I question we're supposed to be turning in on the 27th? Is there a question per se? Because I
This
thought I
one?
looked at, yes. What type
Um,
of question am I? Is there something that we're supposed to be writing about or?
no, for this, it's going to ask you like, what type of question is this? Like, is that an ethical question, personal choice? And it's just multiple choice questions.
Oh, so you just go in and do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like it says, you can do it as many times as you want.
Oh, okay.
For the pandemic, well, let's talk about we're going to use these 8 key questions to help us come up with our viewpoint. So let me go over these real quick, and then we'll talk about the pandemic flu exercise. So it's pretty straightforward here. Fairness is how can I act equitably and balance legitimate interests. Outcomes, what achieves the best short and long-term outcomes for me and all others. Responsibilities, what duties and or obligations apply. Character, what action best reflects who I am and the person I want to become. Liberty, how does respect for freedom, personal autonomy, or consent apply? Empathy, what would I do if I cared deeply about those involved? Authority is what do legitimate authorities, such as experts, the law, or my religion, or my God, expect of me? And then rights, what rights, like innate rights or rights that you're born with, legal or social, what rights apply? So we're going to use these key questions to come up with how we support our viewpoint. So for the pandemic flu exercise, basically there's a worldwide outbreak of a flu. It threatens everybody. It threatens healthy young people as well as the very old. You have to assume there is a vaccine, but there's not very much of it. And you have to assume anybody who's not vaccinated is going to die. Very terrible, right? And so you've got these people, you've got 10 people, and you've only got 6 vaccines. So you got to pick who you're going to treat. So you've got a woman who thinks she's 6 weeks pregnant, recently orphaned 2-year-old, nurse's aide who works at a nursing home, senior citizen who has 15 grandchildren, 13-year-old twins, a doctor, an elementary school teacher, and a mother and son. The mother's refusing treatment, so her son will be treated. So you're going to type who you're going to save and why, but then the most important is you're going to discuss which of the 8 key questions were most important to you to why you saved them. So for example, if I go back to those 8 key questions, so I might save the doctor because I'm looking at outcomes, and I think if I save the doctor, he's going to be able to help care for others. And you can use whatever questions you want. You pick whichever ones are most important for you. So when you do this pandemic flu exercise, make sure that you put the 8 key questions that you're using. Which one is most important to why you saved them? So maybe there's 13-year-old twins. You could say that's fairness because you can't save one without the other. You could say that's outcomes because they're young and they're gonna more likely to make a good contribution to our society. And so for this assignment, there's no right answer. As long as you've justified why you're going to save the person, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now let's talk about these worksheets. Okay, so there's 4 different ones. And they're really the same thing, just different formats. So if you want to download it and type in your answers, most people prefer the Word document format. If you want to print it out, most people prefer this. So the ethical question I'm giving that is, should we use CRISPR? And then viewpoint number 1 is going to be yes, or viewpoint number 2 is going to be no, and you could flip those if you want. And then you're going to do some research. You're going to research about CRISPR. Where'd I go back? So, so they're going to eliminate Down syndrome. So that's like a fact about CRISPR. So if you think that's a good thing, so I say, yes, we should use CRISPR because we're going to eliminate Down syndrome. I'm going to put that on here on this side. That's one of my reasons to support it. Now, if I think that's a terrible thing and I don't want to eliminate Down syndrome, that's fine too. Then that might be on my no side because they're going to use it to, and I might feel like that's playing God and you shouldn't do that. We're taking it too far. And so then that would be on my no side. You know, people are going to, if they're using it to eliminate Down syndrome, what are they going to try to eliminate next? Are they going to try to eliminate brown eyes next and make everyone blue-eyed and blonde hair like the Nazis did? So that could be something on the no side. I could read an article about, I'm just going to look up sickle cell anemia. So I could read about this. And so they've used CRISPR to cure sickle cell anemia. So I think everyone would agree that would goes on the yes side. Or I could look at CRISPR and its help with crop production. So it's enhancing climate resilience in major staple crops. So they're making crops that are more drought resistant or heat resistant. So I would say that's a good thing, and that's going to be on my yes side. What are some no's? So there are side effects, and we don't really know the side effects. It's so new, we haven't really had time. So I would say um, I'm not sure about the side effects, so that's going to be on my no side. And so as you do more and more research, you'll get more ideas that make you think yes or no. What else? I put people playing God on here. Another thing that I think is interesting, they're going to bring back the woolly mammoth. So they've created a woolly mouse already. And there's a company that was in Siberia, and they're going to make woolly mammoths. So we could use it to bring back an extinct species. Now, I've seen Jurassic Park, so I personally don't think that's a good idea. Um, but you may feel differently. You may think that's a good thing. Maybe we could use it to conserve some species that are endangered. So that could be a yes or no, depending on how you feel about that. Okay, so you fill out this worksheet, and these are due. So this is where you submit. So these are due October 1st. No, these are due September 10th. And so once you submit these, you'll have most of the work done for your assignment. But let me show you the other side. Oops. So on page 2, you have a place for facts, and these facts can also be on your tug sheet. That previous one we called the tug sheet. And questions that remain, and then you're going to put different stakeholders, the values and concerns of each stakeholder, and the 8 key questions given priority. So a stakeholder could be a patient with sickle cell anemia, or a patient with a disease that could potentially be cured by CRISPR. They're going to look at the outcomes, and this can cure my disease. So they're going to have certain of those 8 key questions that they give priority to. It could be, say, a farmer who wants to grow better crops. And so they're going to have different 8 key questions that they find most important. It could be a researcher that's using this to do your research, to answer basic scientific questions. And there's a lot of people doing that right now. So anybody affected by this decision could be on here. It could be the person who, and there was a big patent fight because there were 2 groups that both kind of discovered it at the same time. And they finally settled that after like 15 years. But you could be the person that invented it and you want people to pay to use it. So that's what's going to go on this. And then once you submit that, I'll look at those and make sure you're on the right track. And then for this part, these are the questions you're going to answer. So for this, you don't have to actually write a paper. In fact, it's easier to grade if you don't write a paper. Just answer these questions, and it tells you on here what a paragraph is, because some people write 1 sentence and think that's a paragraph. And then it tells you, like the first one, minimum of 2 paragraphs. So you're explaining the ethical dilemma and explain why it's a dilemma or issue that must be analyzed. And there's a hint there. The answer is not that it's an ethical dilemma because it has more than one right answer. Why is this specific question one that society must analyze? And there's the 8 key questions again. So you'll answer all of these questions, and this is not something you do in one day. You have plenty of time. It's not due till October 1st. So the first step is you're going to do this one this week. That's really easy. Then the pandemic flu exercise is, I think, the next week. That's also pretty easy. And then the next week is these tug sheets. And then after that, you'll have 2 or 3 weeks to finish up this and answering the questions. So does that bring up any questions? All right, and I know this says engagement hour, but we're gonna go for about 9 more minutes. So I want to try something. I want to put you guys in groups. We'll put like 3 or 4 in a group, and then I want you guys to discuss this, what you think about CRISPR, discuss your viewpoints, what you know about it, what you think about it. And that will just, I think, help you get some ideas for when you do the assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and put us in groups, and then I will, so we're just going to have 2 groups. I will jump back and forth between the groups and see how you're doing. All right, so go ahead and join your rooms.
For CRISPR, I think it's yes and no, and it depends on the situations.
I
Because
agree.
as the professor was saying, there's some food that can be used and it works really good. And I think I'm all for that. And then there's also in the case of with sickle cell, I have patients who really that would be helpful for them at this point in their life. So I am all for that. And then there's the other side where for doing some things for changing the DNA in cloning, I don't think that would be ethical. So I think it's just depends on the situation.
Already started, wanting to do the woolly mammoth. And it's going to start there, and then it'll just kind of evolve into what else can we make? But I do think if it was used for the right reasons, like for instance, sickle cell anemia, curing some, being able to cure some blindness. Not sure how I feel about Down syndrome. Those are special people. They were born that way. They are who they are. I don't think there's a reason to eradicate Down syndrome.
Mhm.
Or cancer, like you said.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how I feel about it on my crops.
Yes, yeah, that's another thing too, yeah.
I understand that, more people are eating more food. So
Mhm.
we need to produce more food. But yeah, knowing all the pesticides that are going on our food because
Uh-huh.
now be sprayed, heavily is concerning. So there's both sides. Unfortunately, this is really hard for me because I try to see both sides of every situation.
Yes, yeah.
So I always, oh, Ava, what about you?
I mean, I definitely think there are benefits to it and everything. Like there's things too you could do good for, like with diseases and everything, but I think it could go like a lot of things could go wrong really quick with it if it's not used right. Like the whole bring the extinct animal things, I think if it's extinct, we should just leave it there. Just
Yeah.
it's gone, it's gone. Don't bring it
Mhm.
back.
But also as a funeral director, unfortunately, death is a part of what brings people into our business. So that's somebody that it would potentially harm, people that are, dying of certain illnesses. If we're eradicating those illnesses, that could potentially harm funeral business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it could potentially harm, big pharma, which I'm not sure that I care that it gets harmed, but significantly. But they're not going to make as much money with medications and lab research and all that if it's eradicated.
Yeah. And like with the whole Down syndrome thing, like I see, I get why some people would want it to not be a thing anymore because it does have like a lot of like heart and health issues associated with the syndrome itself. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be people that have, disabilities and syndromes and everything. So, and it's not hurting other people. So I don't think we should get rid of the syndrome completely. If we could find a way to like make it where it wasn't as hard on their health, that'd be one thing, but completely eradicating it, I don't agree with.
So are we
have a so the biggest issue is like you were saying, you can't escape personal opinion bias. So there's really there's really a need for there to be, if there's going to be people deciding things, there needs to be a large panel of several different sectors of individuals that are making these decisions, because one small panel, all it takes, for example, if you have a situation in which it has to be a unanimous vote, suddenly you're deciding on whether or not somebody's worthy of a genetically modified heart because of a history. Maybe they're an individual who has a past in alcoholism or drug use, and they've cleaned their life up and they're doing what they're supposed to, but unfortunately that stigma is going to follow them. And then we start throwing in bystander effect situations where, oh well, if one person is doing this, then and I'm a follow along, I'm going to do it too. If you have a dominant individual in the room that suddenly says for 40 different directions, we shouldn't help this person, it doesn't matter how good that person might be, that bias is going to take over. And there's just so many situations. For example, our our professor was talking about the situations with the mammoth. Okay, there's several different connotations that could be used for that to be a good thing, and it
Okay, so I heard a lot of good discussions. Hopefully that is helpful to you guys. Um, any last questions you all have about the course or this assignment or anything? Elliot, go ahead.
So regarding the visible body stuff, I might have like read something wrong. Do we need to purchase the subscription in order to use it past the 2 weeks, correct? Or is there a way that we would have to like that is correct? Okay. I just want to double check to make sure like that was that before I spent the money and then there was another way, but that's all.
Yeah, and it's cheaper to buy it directly from Visible Body. I think it's $55 for a year. Plus, you can download the apps and you keep the apps forever. I really like their apps for the phone. All right, any other questions anybody has?
Yeah, I saw you were pulling up the questions for some of the ethical things, and I'm not finding it on. I'm looking on my thing, but I can't find the instructions. Or should I be just be watching the instructions? There's not a sheet per se.
For the ethical, hold on a sec. Let me share my screen.
there's a video, a YouTube video
Yeah,
on
I
the
saw the video, but I thought they were like a paper instructions, like a word
No.
instruction.
So there's a couple, this video right here, I think these are both videos. I would watch those videos, and then after watching them, you'll be able to do this assignment. It's just answer the questions.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but I thought I saw you had some paper instructions.
Oh, not for this. I think there's only like 10 questions maybe. Yeah, I think there's just 10 questions. And shouldn't be very difficult for you guys.
was it the layout format thing you were talking about?
No, not the tug sheet or anything like that. I was able to download those, but I thought I saw him. There was another one where it's as the CRISPR paperwork where it says to answer those questions, and it was the he says not to do an essay, it's just answer the questions.
That's going to be right here where it says critical/ethical thinking.
Uh-huh. Okay, so it's there before you turn it in. Okay.
Yeah, that's the questions.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Hope it was helpful for you. Hopefully you got a good start on this assignment. And if you ever do have questions, feel free to email me. I can set up Zoom meetings with you individually if you need. Or you can email me. All right. Well, everyone, any other questions?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. We'll do another one of these probably before the first exam in case you have questions about that. And then we'll do another one more towards the end of the semester. All right.